grounds, no, the house size. So the yard doesn't make a difference. If you actually look at a property, two properties, one of them has an extra room, and the other one has a backyard that's double the size. The one with the extra room would always rent quicker, and always sell quicker as well. Yeah. So that's because people don't live in the backyards. They might go in their backyards for a barbecue every now and then, but they live inside the house, so they can use the extra room. That's more desirable. Swimming pools are not a desirable feature. Yeah. Oh, really? Really? Yeah, good. Yeah. It's one of those things where people love them or people hate them, but having them or not having them is not really a deal breaker. People usually don't come in and go, oh, damn, there's no swimming pool there, we're not going to rent it. So, okay. So be careful of causing vacancies. Please be careful of discrimination laws. I've had landlords say, okay, thanks for getting that application, absolutely qualified, but I don't want that race of people in my property. And when you do that, it's a really expensive opinion to have, because that opinion could potentially be costing you $400 a week, because that's the vacancy that you're carrying to hold that opinion. So I'm just looking at it in terms of dollars. Okay. Arrears control. So anyone know when you should contact your tenant? Yeah. Well, immediately, if they're new tenants, we contact them immediately on the day that the rent is due, so we can get them into the habit of paying on time. If they're tenants that have always paid on time, for the last 3 years, we'll give them a 3-day grace. That's fine. They could be overseas. They could have internet problems, whatever. So when do you think, or does anyone know when you can actually start taking legal action or serve a breach notice to a tenant? Not a month. Close. Yep, it's 2 weeks. It's 16 days actually. So day 16, the law allows tenants to be late for 14 days. So the reason why we don't send it on 14 days, it has to be 14 clear days. We send it on day 16 because then you can ask for all the rent that's due and plus 2 weeks in advance. Okay, so we send them a breach notice, and if they don't respond, they have 7 days to respond to that breach notice. So the breach notice says you owe $700 in rent, plus the 2 weeks or whatever. You will give them a figure that they owe. Please pay in full by this date. So they have 7 days. If they don't pay in full by that amount of time, then it gets escalated to to the next step, which is taking legal action on the tenant. And the legal action is applying for a tribunal hearing. Now, apply for a tribunal hearing, that could take 5 weeks. So the tenant's could potentially not be paying for 5 weeks if you get to that stage. And by the time it gets to that stage, then you're asking for the lot back. So you go to a tribunal hearing. Guess what happens at a tribunal hearing? Has anyone self-managed been to a tribunal hearing? Okay, so at a tribunal hearing, there's almost 100% chance that our order for vacant possession of the property, taking the property back, is going to get overruled, and the tenant's going to be put on a payment plan. So that's what happens. They get put on a payment plan. So they ask the tenant, okay, so you're now, $1,600 in arrears. How much do you want to pay per week to catch up? So your rent is, $400 a week. Do you want to pay $500 a week? And, the extra $100 a week come off that $1,600 that you owe. So that's what happens. And then there's a number of scenarios that the tribunal can put in place. One of them is a self-executing order, saying that if the tenant doesn't pay the extra $100 a week plus their rent on 3 consecutive occasions, then it becomes a vacant possession automatically without going back to the tribunal. So depending on what you negotiate. There is a law now that's come through, I think March last year, I think it's come through, that says that if a tenant is late 3 times in a row, or if they've received 3 breach notices, then they get an automatic vacant possession order without being put on a payment plan. It's not as clear cut as they make it sound, but it is there in the legislation. Any questions on this?
So vacancy order, how many days is that?
Quickest is 7 days. So depending on their circumstances and whether they've got 5 kids and it's going to be really hard for them to find another property or whatever, but the quickest is 7 days. So within 7 days they've got to vacate that property. If they don't vacate, then we apply for a bailiff and go in and physically take possession of the property. It gets really bad at that stage.
So some of the rent that's paid, can that be deducted out of their bond?
All of it will be deducted out of their bond, absolutely, and plus insurance claims. And what happens at that stage is when a tenant is evicted, there's almost 100% chance that they're not going to clean the property. So, no. So they're evicted, they're not going to clean the property. The property looks disgusting when you go in. So, you know, cleaning charges, dumping of furniture. Usually they leave, last month they left 4 cats locked up inside a property, and they're crapping all over the floor. So I'm not even going to describe what this property looked like, but we had it cleaned up and we actually got it rented within a week after. But all of that will come off, we'll claim the total bond, and the rest of it is being claimed as an insurance claim, which I'm going to go through. So if you play your cards right and get it and have the right insurance and have the right management in place, because insurance would want to know that the right orders had gone in, then the financial risk to you as a landlord should be pretty close to zero, even when things go wrong, which they could. Okay. Inspections. There are 2 types of inspections you do on a property, and that one of them is a ingoing or outgoing inspection, where you go in and take about 300 to 400 photos in the property. So absolutely every inch of the property is photographed. So every wall, the ceiling, the floors, every drawer is opened up and photographed. So that is an ingoing inspection. That saves our butts in a tribunal hearing when the tenants have put a big scratch on the wall and then they go, oh no, that was there to begin with. Then we pull out photos, they've got to be good quality photos, blow them up, show that no, there was no scratch there, or an iron mark on the carpet, or something like that. So you need to have it. We have a lot of people coming through from privately managing their properties who don't have these checks in place, and they walk into the property at the end and say, well, that wasn't like this, I didn't leave it like this, the carpet is trashed, it's got stains all over it, there's marks all over the walls, it wasn't like this, I want the tenant to pay for it. And we say, well, where are the ingoing inspection photos? I didn't take any. Well, then you've got no recourse. So you've got to have that ingoing inspection. Otherwise, you've got nothing to claim against. The second type of thing that you do on a property are called routine inspections, where you walk in every 12 to 16 weeks and take photos of the property and have a look around and see if there's any maintenance issues, if the tenant is looking after the property, carpets are clean, the walls are clean, the property is generally clean, they're looking after the gardens, that kind of thing. We don't open up drawers and stuff like that in routine inspections because it's rude. But we do look inside every room and take photos.
So you've done an inspection, you've got a nice stain on the carpet. You also get notified of that. So then obviously you've got an opportunity to claim that. What happens after a couple of years' time when they move out and stay in?
Okay, so if we've noted it at a routine inspection, we do tell them to have the carpet steam cleaned. If they don't, it comes off the bond at the end. So we do if we know about it in advance, we've actually got it costed up, how much it's going to take to replace that carpet. Now, it depends on how big the stain is. There's a lot of legislation that goes behind it. They take depreciation schedules into account. If the if it's the 5th year of the carpet and the stain is about that big, they work it out on the square meterage of the carpets and blah, 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 and, you know, it's 95% depreciated, so there is a formula that they actually use, but there is compensation back to the landlord. The best way to do it is to put it through an insurance claim rather than waiting for tenant compensation. That make sense? Okay, so when you're doing ingoing inspections, one of the most important things is that the property has had a vacate clean. So the property has actually been cleaned by a professional, and the carpet's steam cleaned professionally at the beginning of the tenancy, because then you can actually produce a receipt saying it was all cleaned right at the beginning of the tenancy, we want it back exactly the same way. And it's a little bit like, anyone heard of the graffiti effect? Where, if somebody graffitis something on a wall, the council will go and remove it. Then they go and put another tag up, the council will go and remove it. They put another one, the council will go and remove it. What kind of message is that sending people? You know, don't stuff up with this building. If they left it there and then somebody goes and puts another one, within a year, that wall is going to attract every graffiti artist in town, right? Because it's sending a message that, you know, this building, it can be disrespected. We don't care about it. Same with properties. So if there's stains on the walls and if there's marks on the walls, we usually have them removed. If there's stains on the carpets, we usually have them removed as much as possible. Because it sends a message to the tenant that this property is presented in the best possible way and we do not want it to be disrespected. Does that make sense? So there's a little bit of a psychology involved in property management as well.
Can I ask a question around that?
Yes.
So if that happens and you're doing an insurance claim, you've gone in 16 weeks, just damage.
Yep.
So you're doing the claim. Would that then come out of the bond and then the tenant has to replace the bond, or how do you manage that come up?
We usually take it out of the bond at the end of the tenancy. So when the tenant actually vacates. So not during, although we do send them letters to rectify. Like we've got a few properties on our books right now where they've allowed couch grass to grow into the garden.